Hello, everyone. Welcome to OT Insight, where we explore the latest trends and best practices in operational technology. I'm your host, Ed Rojas, and today we have a really fascinating and urgent topic, securing AI in OT environments. Artificial intelligence is making its way onto the plant floor and into our industrial operations. Imagine your facility where an AI system optimizes a production line or predicts equipment failures before they happen. It sounds great, but imagine that the same AI system is manipulated or it fails unexpectedly, causing a process disruption. That's not good. So it's a double-edged sword. In this episode, we'll tackle how to reap the benefits of AI in OT without introducing this new risk, or at least mitigating those risks. To help us with this conversation, we are joined by Marissa Morales Rodriguez, a technology security strategist specializing in the secure adoption of AI and digital infrastructure across the energy and industrial sectors. She previously led cybersecurity and emerging technology portfolios at the U.S. Department of Energy, and in 2025 founded STEMPRIZE, an advisory and consulting firm focused on helping organizations integrate AI and advanced digital technology securely, responsibly, and at scale. Now, Marisa, you're also doing a interesting conversation or presentation at S4 in February about this subject. So I want to be there. So I'm looking forward to meeting you in person and participating. So thank you for being here today.
Excellent. Yes, I'm very excited. So, as you know, there's been so many changes recently. And I was at the U.S. Department of Energy for a number of years. Before that, I was at Oak Ridge National Laboratory, always working on projects with reliability, resilience, cybersecurity for power systems.
And solar,
Uh,
solar energy
in
as well, correct?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
wow.
was technology manager for the U.S. Department of Energy on the Solar Energy Technologies Office.
Wow.
So OT is something that has always been part of my career, OT security. And now we are launching this new venture looking at this emerging technology of AI, which is, AI is not really a new technology, and we will get into that later in
Mhm.
the conversation. But there's so much talk about it. There, you have organizations trying to integrate it, and this conversation today is very relevant. So thank you for having me. I'm super excited about deep dive here into this topic because, like I mentioned, it's really important, particularly when we talk about integration of AI in the industrial and operational technology space.
Yeah, absolutely. So you said, a couple of things there. So let's just dive in. So it's AI, are we actually seeing this on the plant floor today, or is it still more hype than reality?
Yeah, that's a great question. It puts a lot of context into the conversation. AI in OT may not longer be just a theoretical idea. What has changed recently is the accessibility with the commercial rise of generative AI and agentic AI, and these capabilities are just no longer limited to research laboratories or large technology companies. Like virtually everybody can build
Mm.
their own agent and deploy it into a system. And they can be embedded into everyday workflows, commercial products, and you will start seeing this trend. And then also this is migrating to the OT. And that distinction matter, right? Like what's traditional machine learning versus what's happening today with generative AI and agentic AI. So the deterministic machine learning models have been with us for a number of years. But we're seeing more adapted decision support, decision influencing systems entering the industrial environment. So in practice, many companies are already building AI into their technology strategies,
Mm.
and vendors are integrating AI into their products. So, for example, some plants use AI-driven predictive maintenance, where algorithms analyze sensor data to anticipate equipment failures before they happen, and others use computer vision to inspect products on the line for quality control. And for example, also in energy management, AI could optimize power usage across facilities. So we are seeing AI being present in OT environment today, even if it's not just running the entire facility, right?
Okay, so it's not hype then, it's happening. And I'm assuming it brings a lot of benefits, like as you mentioned, catching issues early,
Mhm.
optimizing efficiency. This weekend in the States, we had the issue with the power storm. Everyone
Mhm.
knew the power is going to go out. It was inevitable when you have nature engaged, right? Ice storms. And I'm assuming that that will be a perfect use for AI. How do you optimize and things like that, correct?
Yeah, you re optimize recovery. How do you dispatch crews to where there's more damage, etc. So AI could be beneficial in many different ways. It can benefit an organization. So, like you were mentioning, like less unplanned downtime, improve safety, catching issues early, greater efficiency, not only in the system, but also worker efficiency,
Mm.
system visibility and situational awareness, faster decision making. So AI can sift through many data sets much more faster than a human could do, and also recommend decisions, which is what we're seeing with some of these generative AI platforms. So some examples could be like subtle signs of motor is degrading or opportunities to save energy, or like you were mentioning, disaster recovery, and that's an upside. But when we're talking about AI into OT, then we also have to take care of the risk, consider risk and consider also safety. And what are those new unknown risks that may be introduced by using the technology? So every new technology in OT will come with potential downsides, and AI is no exception.
Yeah, there's a lot of things when you start talking about AI or any new technology.
Yeah.
I just had a conversation, episode is going to come out soon about NIST, right? 882, CSF 853. And one of the conversations there were about understanding your risk and understanding, all your segments and everything. And I asked, like, well, AI is going to move that really, really quickly. People need to start understanding all those constraints and those requirements. So let's talk about those risks. OT systems have historically been very stable and deterministic, right? Again, the guest on that previous episode, she says, plants have been built. Plants that exist today were built in the 1950s. So yes,
Mhm.
they're very deterministic and very stable. But nothing changes unless a human reprograms it. So how does AI change that risk profile?
Yeah, so traditionally OT control system are deterministic. They do exactly what they're programmed to do every time. They do the same unless we change them. And AI, on the other hand, is probabilistic, it's data driven, it makes inferences from the data. And that means its behavior can change over time or be influenced in ways that we may not predict or design for. And this is very powerful, but it also means AI can fail or be tricked in ways a traditional system wouldn't. So you have some benefits from maybe catching issues that you didn't think about, but you also have the risk of a false positive, for example. For instance, if an AI system is fed bad data, whether unintentionally because a sensor failure or intentionally by an attacker, it might make a bad recommendation or make the wrong decision.
Mm.
So we call this risk data poisoning, false data injection, model manipulation, for example. And an attacker could actually try to tamper with the data going into the AI model or the AI model itself to skew its output. So in the context of OT, that could translate to false, like we mentioned, false predictions, which can confuse the operators. Say telling you a perfectly fine machine is about to fail, or worse, not warning you about a failure. And it's much risky when we talk about critical failures. Also, AI might expose your OT network in new ways, so increasing the attack surface. And perhaps the AI needs to connect to a cloud service or a third-party platform for analytics. And that connection can be a new attack pathway if not secure. So it brings a new class of risks to OT environments that we definitely need to account for when we are making decisions on where AI would be beneficial for your organization.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, AI brings huge efficiency and a lot of good benefits, and but it at the same time it opens the doors to new vulnerabilities, and the plant operators and the plant cybersecurity people, it's not like they have a lot of time on their hands to start dealing with new technologies. I mean, they're already stretched thin dealing with existing threats, and now AI, which we all believe is a savior, it's actually bringing a whole new dimension of possible
Mhm.
threats.
That's exactly right, Ed. I mean, and something we need to stress is the urgency of getting to know these technologies. AI in OT isn't a problem for the future. We need to start studying it now, and understanding how we would operate within an OT environment. So if we ignore it now, we'll be scrambling later trying to find solutions for potential vulnerability that could have been mitigated from just a design phase. And we're getting gonna get into that later. Um, some national security agency recently highlighted AI in OT as a distinct risk area, which tells you that this is being taken very seriously at highest levels. So the bottom line is for OT leaders is that AI is coming to the OT, and if we don't design for security upfront, we'll end up absorbing that risk later in production. We don't want to wait until the incident had happened to realize we should have security from the beginning, as I mentioned. So it's an entire process, and security have to be thought through an entire AI life cycle.
Yeah, I mean, it's what we've been living through cybersecurity for all these many years, right? Let's get it
Yes.
implemented, and we build cybersecurity later. And we are now is costlier and less effective. Designing upfront is definitely key. So let's get into that. How do you design for security upfront, especially for AI systems? I mean, it sounds good in theory. How do we actually do it?
There's a different components to this. As I've been going through this research about what is AI security within the context of systems, you find that it engaged different topics like cybersecurity itself, but also machine learning security,
Mm,
software security. So it's an integration of different approaches to security. But designing for security upfront means you start thinking about the security from day one of your AI project, and even before you start thinking about how AI may fit into your company, not an afterthought. So practically, one way to do this is to follow the AI lifecycle, and there's different foundational guidance that explain this. Um, and build the security into the each phase. So there's national and international agencies and organizations that have developed this guidance to secure AI systems. At STEMPRISE, we use that guidance as foundation to build some playbooks that integrate security across this AI lifecycle, which include phases like design, build, deploy, operate, and govern, which includes retirement and decommission. And these are just examples of phases. There may be sub phases within this, but within the context of this conversation, we'll
mm.
keep it,
That's
pretty
it.
brief and quick, so people can more or less, it's to spark some conversation and discussion on how do you integrate AI into your project, how do you integrate secure
Mm.
AI into your environment. So
In a structured way, right? Correct. That's the
right,
whole
in a
idea. Yeah.
structured way to making sure that you're thinking about the risk upfront and what are security measures upfront to just then reach your company goals by introducing AI and getting the benefits. So I mentioned five things. I mentioned design, build, deploy, operate, and governance. So in let's just start with the design phase. So
Okay.
before any code is written or any model is used or trained, you had to plan it with the security in mind. And first, you have to identify what is the purpose. Why are you selecting AI to accomplish a specific goal within your company? And what are those associated risks? Because, like we were saying, we are introducing new technology. So you ask questions like what can go wrong and what is the impact if this AI system makes a bad decision or a recommendation? How will this AI connect to our equipment or our network? Who will have access to it? How it will be used? And essentially, you conduct a threat model. And this is from when you start thinking about where AI fits in the company.
Mm,
It is key for companies to think about procurement also during this phase to use trusted suppliers. If you're using an AI model from a vendor or open source, you need to verify it's legitimate and
mm,
hasn't been tampered
mm,
with, excuse me, to avoid model poisoning, right? And have all those risks of bad decisions when it's in production. Think of it like building a machine and you want quality parts and you test that machine under various conditions to ensure it doesn't break and is safe. And then you think about building it. How do
mm.
you get that design and move to the next step of building the system? And here you're developing or training the AI system. Secure build practices include use trusted data, so the training data itself is not corrupted, applying secure coding practices to any software around the AI, and test the model threats for vulnerabilities identified during the design phase, in addition to new ones that were not accounted for.
Yeah.
So in this particular stage, your vendors are key and security practice have been identified and discussed. So those are two things, right? What are your
Yeah.
security that you need and what are those vendors and whether those vendors are meeting that need. So, organizations should ensure traceability, access control, ability to audit these decisions. And those are just some minimum requirements. For example, if you're designing an AI to optimize a chemical process in the build phase, you consider safety impacts. If the AI suggests pushing a valve beyond safe limits, then how do you prevent that?
Mm,
Which configuration settings and guardrails need to be implemented? How will the system log decision and provide anomaly alarms to increase traceability? And then secure by design at this stage might mean understanding the vendor security posture. And we mentioned again, and I will repeat it, procurement is very important.
mm,
And setting those guardrails from project inception and the design to inform decisions on how the AI system will be operated within your environment and how incident mitigations will be implemented. So it is important to understand this and probably put
wow.
together a structure. So then when you are going to the deploy phase, this is when you start into the integration phase into the AI, into the live OT environment, following the results from the work done in the design and build phase. And a secure deployment for AI in OT can mean things like verifying the configuration, security testing, like deploying on the secure segmented network area. So if something goes wrong, it's identified and mitigated and doesn't ripple out and affects everything. It
Mm,
means that you will verify permissions so that the AI system only has access to data and systems and controls that were identified in the design and build phase. Deploy at least privilege plus human in the loop where appropriate. And you will likely conduct a thorough security and risk assessment after conducting dry runs and maybe the sandbox for texting before fully going live. So in OT, once something is running, it's really hard to take it down. So taking all these measures and precautions just really help you also track where when something goes wrong so you can go back and fix it. Um, and another thing that's key is also communicating to the stakeholder transparently the use of AI. Where is
mm.
AI being implemented? What type of decision is taking? And how are you monitoring, logging those decisions? Is very important. So to avoid any issues at a later stages. Mhm.
And
And
so,
then
so this is, I'm sorry. So now we had the design, we had the build, and we're at the deploy phase.
Mhm.
Now comes the maintaining and updating, I'm assuming.
Well, once it's deployed, you had to operate it, right? You had to monitor it. You have
Mm,
updated. You have to manage the system. It's like another system you need to manage into your environment. And in this security meaning, like we mentioned, continuous operations, apply the human in the loop oversight, make sure that the AI is doing what it's supposed to do. And for example, you can implement anomaly detection on the AI outputs. And if we start giving like odd recommendations or exhibiting model drifting, then you get an alert possibly to the operator. And then very important is having an incident response plan specifically for this AI. So if it's malfunctioning or your suspect is being compromised, how can you shut it down safely or how to switch to manual controls are are things that needs to be implemented and thought through, and people need to be trained on this as well.
Mm,
So in OT, maintaining safety is critical. So you need to have contingency plans. And just like any other system, you apply, like you mentioned, patches and updates and continuous monitoring, logging, and making sure that the outputs are remain consistent throughout the operation phase is important. And that also touches on what is governance, right? And this is probably the most important phase because it starts from the very beginning and it
mm,
sits across the entire AI lifecycle. It means like what are those policies? Who's the oversight ability to be in place? So like I mentioned, even before you start the process and the project, you need to start thinking about who this team will be, where it will be implemented, who's going to manage it. So assigning an owner to the AI system, who's
important.
accountable, who's responsible, who's performing risk management, who's looking at monitoring performance, and what are those guidelines, right? What are those success metrics, compliance checks, and then also alignment with industry standard to ensure that it's being used responsibly and securely. And governance also include periodic reviews and audits, and it's still, checking that the AI is doing its job correctly. And if anything has changed in the environment, it requires a change. And you may have to adjust how the AI will operate. So
Wow.
specifically in OT, governance also means training your people. That's pretty important. Like people understand what the AI is supposed to do, what the AI would do, and its limitations. Ensuring operations and engineers are up to speed with the technology and how it will operate in their environment and having the mechanism to shut it down if there's an emergency. And also have a strong incident management plan and response, I should say. So it's also organizations and companies need to understand what are the necessary steps for system retirement and decommissioning.
Oof.
Make sure you don't have any agent lingering there in your system
Yeah.
if that's the case. So it becomes more tangible and digestible if we think about it in phases like this, that
Yeah.
people can start thinking about how to integrate security into their AI adoption plans.
Yeah, and I was just thinking as you're going through all that, right? You see the commercials on TV about, implement AI agents into everything you
Mhm.
do. And it's like so simple, it's like, I'm like, yeah, no, it's not that easy. And like everything else, it's not that easy. But there's a structured approach to do it. It's not just technical. I believe that the message here is you don't just install AI and then forget about it, or it's not something that only IT folks will handle, right? It touches everything and includes team members across the organization. This is not a simple thing.
Yes, it is that way. And every company and every organization has different risk profiles, right? So no implementation may be similar across different organizations. So we have to also consider that. But using this approach, looking at the AI life cycles and looking at those foundational guides that have been released in the past few years, there's many groups working on that. It avoids a scenario and that if something critical has been missed during the design phase that can introduce a vulnerability that could be prevented, right? So that's why you have a very robust design process where you have all these cross-functional teams from different groups or divisions within your organization to actually, do the threat modeling at the very beginning. So then you can mitigate as much as possible risk and vulnerabilities. This would be much harder to do it after production, after it
Yeah,
is in a production environment. So because it's OT surprises are bad and we don't want unexpected
we don't
downtime or
want
safety incidents. But
yeah.
then if we have them, then you have to be able to trace back and do the incident response management.
Okay.
So it's like constructing a building. Like you have this fire safety design in the blueprint stage, and you wouldn't build a building and then decide where to put the fire exits. So it's the same kind of idea where security features and considerations should be part of the blueprint of the AI solution that you're considering for your organization. And if you wait until after it's in your plan to think about security, then you're likely maybe stuck retrofitting, which is could be more expensive and endure an incident in the meantime. So thinking
Yeah.
about it like the structured way will help you avoid, some of these issues later on.
Okay. We have like 4 minutes left, so let's just jump to what are the practical steps for the OT team to secure AI? So I'm listening to this and I'm thinking, wow, this is overwhelming, right? Do I need to hire a whole bunch of specialists? Can my existing team tackle it? What is your recommendation?
You definitely can if you have the resources to, but you don't need to be an AI expert, right? So but you do need the right structure and you need the guidance and the guardrails to make sure
And
you
and
secure your system.
be realistic in time frames. Don't assume that you're gonna plug and play, right?
Right. Yeah. Be
Okay.
realistic. First, you start the conversation. Engage whomever you think needs to be in the conversation. But before that, you had to also identify what's your organization maturity level regarding AI, right? Are you in
Mm,
the exploration mode? Are you integration? Are you full
good point.
adoption? That really puts into context. And then once you start designing and you already know where AI can fit in your company, then you need to put together a team of people and assign a leader to start this cross-functional dialogue. That's very important. Another point is inventory and assess, right? What's next? What's already happening in AI in your environment? Does your vendors already installing smart features in your equipment? Do an inventory and see what you find out, and that probably will start a full conversation within a full conversation regarding security within your teams. And then another point is build security and safety into the projects when you're embarking in these new AI projects or evaluating one. Identify the security requirements from the start, how AI may be overwritten by a human, and then start thinking about if something goes wrong, what would those mechanisms would be. Think about how someone may abuse the system and think about outsider threats, but also insider threats. Because like some colleagues of mine say AI is slippery and you need to also track not only the system, but also the people who are operating the system. And that touches in training and education. I think this is the one that may be often overlooked because we're all like wanting to know more about the technology. But, like you were mentioning earlier, like the OT operators and engineers don't need to become AI expert, but they should get a basic training on what AI is and what it isn't, and understanding that AI makes prediction based on probabilities and it can be wrong. And this helps them remain vigilant and know when to question the AI output and avoid over reliance on the system. And then if you have data scientists, also bring them into the conversation. And then, it's about team building this
Mhm.
exercise and also trying to train the team into understanding how AI works, what are the risks, and what are mitigations. And then pilot securely, right? Start small with a project that you maybe can control so you learn how to integrate it into your system you get familiar with how the AI works, and you learn about approaches to, improve security from those smaller projects. What failed, what was successes, and it's you have to treat it as a learning exercise
Mm,
and pointing, tracking every decision. So by taking some of these steps, the OT teams can build confidence in managing the AI risk. And it's not about eliminating all risk, but just trying
yeah.
to, be responsible to a level that is acceptable and
Mm.
ensures safety within the OT environment.
All right. So everything that we discussed, I mean, it's been amazing. Um, what's the core message you want OT leaders to take away? Why is now the time to act on AI security? And all this, the final message in less than a minute.
Yeah. Core message is that AI does not remove human responsibility, but increases it, right?
Oof.
So it's coming fast. Train your teams, uh, take it as another technology, and manage the risk from when you know that you need an AI system into your system, into your environment. So if you're a plant manager or a CISO or OT engineer, don't wait until the AI system is already into your environment. Just be proactive and think about those security procedures and practices from the very start. And if it's already in your environment, then make an assess and inventory of where it is and how it works, and engage with your vendors, and make sure that you understand what their security posture is. That's
Hmm.
super important these days.
Yes, perfect. And then one last thing, because you and I spoke about this before getting here. Um, I'm new. I'm listening to this. I'm like, I'm not. Whoa, I'm scared of AI. What's what's uh what's your take on that? If somebody says, "Well, I'm not going to do it. I'm too scared."
I I I don't recommend you be intimidated by it, right? We intimidated by the iPhone and it's already here with us, right?
Yeah.
And just treat it with the respect it deserves, just like any technology. Get to know it, get to know the operations. Be transparent on how you want to use AI. And it's in at the end of the day, it's just another system that we can engineer and manage. Again, humans will be there to identify whether there's something that is go wrong. So, um, and it does have a lot of benefits, right?
Yeah.
So again, it's not going to replace the human, but it will maybe improve capabilities. So it is just matter of start talking to your teams and start training and understanding how the technology can help into your environment.
Yeah, that's a great insight, great information. And well, that wraps up today's episode of OT Insights. Wow, that was fast. This has been a really enlightening discussion about AI security in the industrial world. To our listeners, we hope this helped you understand why securing AI is not just an IT issue, but very much an OT imperative. I don't even know how to pronounce
Mhm.
it. Thank you, Marissa, for sharing your
Oh,
expertise.
thank you, Ed. And like you mentioned earlier in the conversation, I will be at S4 talking
Yes,
about this very topic on it, debating on human in the loop in the AI era. And I'm just so looking forward to it. And I invite everybody to come out here to South Beach and join us. And
nice.
looking forward to meeting you in person, Ed.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that as well. Thank you, everyone, for listening. If you found the value in this episode, please share it with your colleagues. And let's start the conversation in your own organization. And as always, stay safe, stay secure, and we'll catch you next time on OT Insights. Thank you very much.